will call, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We will call to order our final Go Team meeting of the year. Um, Time is 4:04. Secretary, can we call roll call, please?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. So we have Dr. Lovett
Present.
present, parent guardian Corte Riggs, a parent guardian Jasmine Brazier,
Here.
parent guardian Johanna Decotis Smith,
Here.
instructional staff Allison Stewart,
Here.
Alexa Smith,
She's not here.
okay, Courtney Obi,
She's here, but her audio is not working.
community member Lee Austin, absent, community member Mel Thomas, absent, Travis Buchholz,
Here.
Sandra Romero, the secretary. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Is quorum present?
Yes.
All right. So now we can proceed. Thank you. Now we can proceed to the approval of the agenda. This was provided to you. Are there any changes to the agenda? May I have a motion to approve the agenda? Oh, sorry.
I motion to approve the agenda.
A second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. All right. All opposed say nay. Or any abstentions? Please say abstain. All right, the agenda is approved. We will review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. Are there any corrections?
I'm gonna pull it up on my computer. Give me 1 second.
Mhm.
I forgot to pull up the minutes. And I'm working from home today, this afternoon, so I don't have my multi-screen system set up. Okay. So I will share the minutes for those who can get to it on your computer.
All right, thank you. Are there any are there any corrections? If there are no corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes. This is Milt Thomas.
Thank you. A second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor say aye or raise your hand. All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. All right, the meeting minutes have been approved. So our first action item is our discussion items are the spring maps results.
All right. I will share my screen and then we can. All right. So welcome again to the Go Team meeting. We are at the end of the year. Hard to believe. Our agenda, as we've been going through, we're at the point where discussion items, our map results, our needs assessment. And so points to consider for map, we're focusing on, according to our SIP, our 3 areas of focus are reading, mathematics, or literacy, mathematics, and attendance. And so looking at our screen right now, we have, this is our map predictors by grade level for reading. You'll see we have fewer kids in the red in 5th grade, 2nd and 4th tied with the most in red, followed by 3rd grade with the 2nd lowest number of students in red. 5th grade has the highest number of kids in the proficient and distinguished category. And for those who may not remember, so the way the APS graphs, which is our main data dashboard, sets up the map predictors is that it categorizes it similar to how we do for Georgia milestones. And so the beginning category is red, which means you're below grade level. The yellow category means you're approaching grade level. The light green category means you're on grade level or proficient, and then the dark green means you're distinguished, so you're above grade level. So this is where we are right now as a school community. Again, even though there's opportunity for growth, we are glad to have more kids. The majority of our kids are performing approaching grade level or higher. We want more kids in the green, but we're thankful that the number of kids in the green are starting to continue to increase or outnumber the kids who are in the red, which is, we know we want to continue to support those students, but we're trying to get more and more kids to achieve at a higher level. So this is our reading performance predictors for how kids are doing. And then these are our math performance. In mathematics in grades 2 through 5, with the exception of 4th grade, there is a low number of kids in the red. 4th grade is the only grade level we have more kids performing in the beginning category as measured by MAP. So we know we have opportunities for increase, but this is where we are right now. There are more kids up here looking as if they're in the yellow than in the greens for mathematics based upon the MAP. But it's just a snapshot in time. A reminder, we do take MAP 3 times a year, fall, winter, spring. And so this is a spring, and this is kind of, leading into the MAP or the milestones, which students are taking now, where we are in terms of performance. And so the next slide is an activity for us to talk briefly about, thinking about looking at the data from the spring map, identify 2 to 3 potential needs for the 25-26 school year. The discussion will help school leadership as they complete the school's 25-26 continuous improvement plan. And so when you think about, I'm going to stop sharing so I can do something to make it a little easier for us. We're talking about the data. I want to put the data on the slide where we have the information. But before we do that, I do want to also add another data point. Attendance is our 3rd point for our continuous improvement plan, our attendance data. And so right now we're at 94.1% in terms of our attendance. And we see right now the pre-K students are leading the pack in terms of the percent of students coming to school every day. Our goal is to get to 95% or higher. So pre-K is there. And I apologize, the graph makes it look very drastic, but the difference between kindergarten and the other grade levels is not as big. And this graph does not include pre-K for whatever reason, but the difference between kindergarten and 1st grade is like 2 points. It's not like a big drop. The scale is not the scale. But if you look at the comparison over the years, like we are above where we were this time last year. We're doing a number of activities. Like this week, we're having for particularly 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, Georgia milestones attendance games. We're trying to spell out the word milestones, 1 letter for each day. that your class has perfect attendance. And so we are just above where we were last year. And we're hoping that we continue the trend. We had a dip, but we've been on a steady climb since January moving forward. So we're excited about that progress. And so now the needs assessment portion, I'm going to copy and paste the information from the data from the slides. So when we talk about the needs, we can look at that one slide and not have to try to toggle between multiple slides. So give me one sec. I didn't think do this ahead of time, but it will be beneficial, I think, when we start having a discussion about what we want to focus on, to have the data right there on the screen. So I want to make that happen so we can see it and kind of know like what we're representing when we're talking about making some adjustments or thinking about what 2 or 3 things we want to do for next year to support student achievement. So any questions about anything we've seen so far while I finalize the moving of this document, some things around?
I know you said maps 3 times a year. So the numbers you just showed us were from the spring and they're
Yes.
taking it again. Okay.
So no, they just took it. They took it shortly
Right.
we came back from spring break
Spring break.
around in or around spring break. We took when the map window started. I want to say it was before spring break. So now I can share my screen so everybody can see it on the same slide. So when we look at our data, what are 2 to 3 areas of need that we can identify based upon our data? I know for those who may not remember, our continuous improvement program said our goal is to continue to increase the percent of students who are scoring proficient and above on the Georgia Milestones assessment. And so looking at where we are now, it looks like we have a stronger content mastery in ELA right now, but I will say we're talking about Georgia Milestones. For ELA, this is only a portion of it. The other half of the ELA scores come from writing, and we've been working on our writing. So I'll stop talking so we can see anything, and I'll write it down and I'll add it to the chart. We can all kind of be involved in any 2 or 3 things that we feel like we want to identify as a need based upon our data.
I mean, what I see in terms of like the 4th grade math,
Mm-hmm.
not really sure if I could pinpoint a need, but what do you think, um, I guess additional supports could be given or do you have like a narrative of why,
Right.
it's 51% for the 4th grade?
I will say, looking at the number of students who tested, 4th grade is our smallest grade level. They have 39 students. The other grade levels have 50 plus. And so you think about 3rd, 4th grade, 1 or 2 kids can swing it. So if there are 39 kids, if 6 are in the beginning category, that's 20%. So it doesn't take a lot to sweeten those numbers. So I think some of that is because of the number of students who are testing. Also, I think there are some gaps that we've noticed in some of the student performances. So what we've been doing to address that is that our math instructional coach has been pulling kids and working with them in the morning or during lunch. And then as a district, we've had district personnel come in and support on Tuesdays. So they've been doing lunch and learns. They've been pulling groups of kids. So we've been working to address that. And again, this was taken before spring break. So we put some intensive supports in place since spring break. And we've been doing tutorials. So we are hopeful. And we had on average, about 90 kids stay for tutorial when we had it for those 9 weeks. So we're hopeful that this is not indicative of how they'll perform on the milestones assessment, but we've been putting some work in about providing those supports for all students K-5, but particularly with grades 3, 4, and 5, and making sure that they get the additional or extra support that they need. And we did a similar strategy for fourth grade ELA. The coach has been working with, going in, co-teaching with the teacher, pulling small groups. So we've been intentional in trying to make sure that we are focused on that grade level in particular. That's our smallest grade level. We also have students in that grade level who have some greater needs. I will also share that we have a very large SWD, especially in the ed population. And so sometimes those kids may not get to the higher performing domains, but it does mean that they're not making progress or that they're not growing, because all of our kids, including in our regional programs, have grown over the course of the year, but growth is relative. And so we live in a world of absolutes. So that I think about the caseload for students in fourth grade in particular, or in 3, 4, and 5, and there are opportunities where kids have grown, but maybe not grown at a level that gets them out of a particular performance band. Does that make sense? Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So any other needs? So we know fourth grade math, and so that means for fifth grade next year, fifth grade math, those kids may need additional supports to help them move forward, or to help fill in any gaps that they may have that exist from fourth grade.
I have another question. Also,
Mhm.
like you mentioned, the yellow in the math category, it seems like there's a lot more yellow. Do you know how many are like closer to transitioning to green, or is it based off the standards from their testing they're put in their category? It doesn't show, they were in the yellow, but they're right on the edge of getting to green, or is that not how the results come out?
In this particular presentation or this particular format of how they present the data, it doesn't show like who was on the cusp of. I have to do a little more digging.
Mhm.
Um, but I will say that part of the challenge this year compared to last year is that we used a different resource last year that was not fully aligned. And so we made some adjustments as a district to utilize the state information for teaching and assessing. And so math is a national assessment. So it's kind of norm reference. So like their performance does not necessarily mean this is how they're going to perform on these Georgia milestones, because the Georgia standards are used for the Georgia milestones. And so there's some alignment and some overlap, and some things are consistent across different areas. But um, I'd have to do a different report to kind of see like how many kids are on the cusp. But I know my team, the coaches and the teachers have been doing some intentional work around looking at kids who are on the cusp, and the district even has a dashboard now that we call on the cusp, like kids who are just almost right there. And we kind of utilize that to help us build our groups for tutorial and teachers for their groups for remediation and review. And so we won't know. I mean, I have to do a different report, a different view of the report to get that information, but we are aware of those kids who are just at the tipping point and who could tip over and make a big difference.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, this is gonna be my last question
You're fine. You're
because
fine.
I have questions and not saying any
Yeah.
needs,
Yep.
but
You're good.
I do think it's very, for lack of a better word, it's cool that in the reading for the third grade that there's such that 16% is in the dark green.
Yes.
I know you mentioned that, the goal is to get as many other students in the green. Is it like the secondary goal to get, of course, all of them to be above proficient? And what did you see, or is there an explanation of why the third grade have so much in this like above proficient level?
So a couple of things. I think we made some adjustments around support for teachers. We made some adjustments around how we utilize our resources. Um, and I think this third grade cohort came in just at a stronger academically. Um, and so there were some differentiation around how we provide those supports for them. Um, but I know that Miss Grady, who's been teaching third grade for the last 3 years, yes, 3 years, has been third grade teacher, so she's able to, she has a real strong understanding of the content and curriculum. So she's been really focused on pushing those kids who can be pushed and challenged. And a lot of those kids in third grade are at the point where they can be challenged and pushed. And so we think that some intentionality around the teachers' efforts and actions are making a difference. But when it comes to overall, like for Georgia milestones, anybody in the green is considered good. And so when it comes to, without going too far in the weeds, like CCRPI, our state indicator of how we're doing as a school community, you get, say, 1 point for every kid who scores proficient. You get 1.5 points for any kid who scores distinguished. So any kid in the dark green earns 1.5 points. And so that, that is our focal point, pushing more kids to achieve, but also it's not just about the highest achievement, it's also about how kids grow. So if you were, say, in the red category last year, but you grew to the yellow or the green category, or vice versa, or in any category, you go up, we get additional points on the back end for that. So we've been intense about thinking about how we can continue to move the needle and give the kids the support that they need, but also challenge those kids who can be challenged, because we recognize that as a school, we could do things a little differently around pushing our high performing kids higher. And so we've been intentional about working with that this year. So third grade seems to be the strongest group in terms of like the outcome we got on this MAP assessment for that. And so we hope that continues to push more of our kids to proficient and above. But I will say for our 2 to 3 needs, I think intentionality around what happens of how we support fourth graders or rising fifth graders in mathematics and reading. I think, even though they're less than 50%, there is opportunity for some additional work in those grade levels around ELA and mathematics. And so I definitely think that's an area of need. Also, second grade reading is another opportunity that we think will be beneficial to focus on. And I will say, one thing that we're doing this year is that we are looping several teachers with their current grade level to the next grade level. And so some of that may be, we've never done it before, but I think that may be beneficial around, you already know your kids, already know the parents, already know some of the needs. And so you're able to come in and get right to the work, but also you know how to provide that remediation support and extension of learning for kids who need that stretch. Any final thoughts about the needs assessment?
I just have a question, like Jasmine. I don't know what to recommend, but
No problem.
have you looked at this compared to this time last year? Like, are these breakout categories consistent with what we were seeing? So like the fourth graders this year when they were in third grade, was the breakdown pretty similar? Is that something we've looked at?
There's some differences, but I will say we've had an influx of new students. One of the challenges that we face is sometimes our students are very transient, and so we've had a lot of new students who came to us this year for the first time in the fourth grade. One of the good things about a growing school community and developments in our community that people are choosing Benteen, and so I'm not saying that families who came in brought our numbers down, but there are a lot of times some kids come in, we have to work a little harder to figure out what they can do or what we need to support them. But the students we have this year for fourth grade in particular are not the same cohort of kids we had last year for third grade. There are a lot of kids who left or didn't come back. There's a lot of kids who moved in. But I will say, like, this was similar last year. There were some areas of concern last year, but then last year for Georgia Milestones, third grade had the highest performance in the building. I think 47% of the kids in third grade were proficient and above in mathematics. So it's like really trying to figure out what are some extenuating circumstances or factors. But we look at these numbers over and over again to figure out what can we do. Which is why when we did tutorials based on our winter score, we did some work around identifying who needs what supports and who needs what extension opportunities. That was a thing that I feel like we had to focus on, like who can be pushed. But again, like we won't know for sure the outcomes of how our efforts will make a difference until test scores start coming in the next few weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Yes.
I was gonna suggest like the vertical alignment as well too, like moving up teachers and possibly moving them down as well too, like to a grade. But are you considering like the summer enrichment as well too? Because we don't want these numbers to worsen like over the summer. And when the
Yeah,
students get good plans in place.
yeah. So summer school will be at Toomer Elementary School for the Jackson Cluster Elementary Schools, and so we have kids who are signed up or who parents who are sending invitations to sign up based upon the fall and winter and I think the spring map. So we have been encouraging families to sign up for summer school to make sure that we don't have a learning loss over the summer, particularly for those grade levels where we see the greatest number of red or kids in the beginning category, trying to make sure that those kids are targeted and get a chance to be a part of the summer school experience and kind of continue their learning to make sure that we don't, again, have any slides for next year.
Oh, I'm sorry. What's
Uh-huh.
the, when is the first time MAP is taken in the school year?
August.
It's August.
Mm-hmm.
Was there tutoring done last year after the August results came in?
No, we did tutorial the second semester
Okay.
because we wanted to make sure like first semester, like just coming from summertime, we don't want to say
Right.
if a child has a deficiency or has a need. We want to kind of see like what good tier one instruction can do. And then by the time we take the winter administration in like December, then it's like, okay, now we've taken it twice. And now now it's like there are some opportunities or some wonderings about how we can move forward to support kids. So we build a tutorial opportunity for kids who we think are on that cusp or who need additional support.
Mhm.
And then we build our tutorial plan around those students, which is what we did this year for second semester.
Was that done last year as well?
Yes.
Okay. Mm.
I know that this year, first grade and maybe third grade as well tried a new way of tracking progress in reading and in math too, I think. I forget what it was called. Um,
APTT.
so
Yes.
yes, okay. And I know first grade's not on here, but was there any kind of way to measure the impact of that approach? Was that effective?
So I'll say two things. So for those who may not know, this year we did a pilot for family engagement. Instead of doing the removing barriers for the entire building, we did academic parent teacher teams. So the goal behind that was to get parents um, more involved in what's happening in their child's classroom. And so we picked a scale. First grade picked their reading scale, I think, number of sight words and blended sounds. Third grade picked multiplication facts. And so we had a parent meeting where we train the parents on what the skill is going to be. We assess the kids at a pre-assessment, show the parents the scores, their individual scores, and their collective grade level scores, and then we gave parents strategies that they can use at home to support or build that skill up with their kid. And we checked in with them at least two other times after the first one, and we had our last meeting right after spring break. And according to the data from the pre, mid, and post assessment for those classes and grades first and third, based upon the assessment they were given, we had good growth on that assessment, and we're hopeful that that growth will help lend themselves to positive movement in terms of performance. I think about third grade in particular. If I look at their math performance, they have the highest number of kids who score proficient and above, and we know that a lot of times third grade is where they start learning the multiplication and applying the skill of multiplication. And so, while I can't attribute that solely to that process or that practice, we hope that that could have had a positive impact. So we're looking to see how that works out for us and what other positive outcomes we get. We had this assessment we did develop for the pre, the mid, and the post, but then using that to kind of help us gauge. Now we've taken map. How does this fit in with map performances? So um, we just concluded that right after spring break, so we haven't had a chance to do a deeper dive to kind of compare and see if there's a difference. But again, MAP is a national norm reference test, and so we haven't had a chance to um, really sit down and dip through the data to see like particularly in third grade, if the multiplication skill was stronger for most third grades compared to what it was in, let's say, August. And for first grade takes reading fluency, which is a different type of assessment that won't doesn't align with this particular breakdown of data. Great questions, great comments. Any final thoughts?
Can the needs just be a continuation of the activities that were already happening? Because unless, like with the tutoring, was there something like, oh, I wish we, there were more tutors, or I wish we had more time or started earlier? But I don't, at the same time, it sounds like the needs are addressed to work, working on improving the
Mm-hmm.
student outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's where I'm like, maybe it's just a continuation, especially with some of the pilot things, so that they can just be done again next year with the same timeline.
Yeah,
Uh,
I will say our goal is to kind of look at how we can start tutorial in the fall semester as well. So we have more opportunity for support, and also looking at how we expand the APTT model to another other grade levels to kind of build out that capacity.
Yep.
Because I think all parents want to know, how can I help my kid at home? And so I think this year we learned some things about giving parents those strategies and those skills so they can work with their kids at home. And we saw positive outcomes for kids on the post assessment. Again, we have to do a little more digging to figure out where that skills development lives in the overall map and Georgia standards, like the Georgia milestones, where those skills live in those particular areas. But yeah, I think that we're going to definitely continue that work, because I know we have the right people in place to make things happen for kids. So we're excited about, you know, everything. I tell people, seeing red is not always a bad thing. It just reminds us that we have opportunity for growth and opportunity for increase. And so we want to continue to focus on how we move our kids forward, um, with their performance. All right. So the next thing, few information items. Um, just that this is the last meeting, and so we will, those who are coming off the team this year, we thank you for your service. Those who will be on here next year, we will continue to work together for the sake of students. Principal's report. Couple of things. So I know we talked about it, but we had officially 40 plus families on the waitlist for kindergarten for the fall of next year. I was able to accept all students, and we have 45 families at our kindergarten roundup, which means if all 40 families who are on the wait list plus the kids who are zoned for Benteen are included, we can have our largest kindergarten class in over almost 20 years. So super excited about that, because that means the enrollment bubble will continue to push up and push forward for Benteen. In terms of staffing for next school year, um, this has changed since yesterday. I have a vacant paraprofessional position, two paraprofessional positions, and an interrelated teacher position. We've already filled two homeroom positions, the counselor, an EVD teacher, and an art teacher position for next year. So we are almost 100% staffed. My goal is, as principal, is always to get everyone in and get everybody staffed before the end of the school year. And we still are working towards that. People are getting promotion opportunities, and so that allows for vacancies that we hadn't planned for. But again, we love all of our Benteen staff, and we're excited about those who are moving on and those who are coming on board. This information, Ms. Dakota Smith, do you remember anything from the last advisory team report? Anything additional shared that you recall? I know we talked a lot about facilities, about the master planning process. But was there anything else you can recall from the cluster advisory team?
I think that was the main thing. I know that we talked about making priorities for the next year, and it seemed like across the board, most of the schools in the cluster, wanted to continue to push to, increase learning and just kind of what we were just talking about, like keep doing the things you're doing that are successful. And then there was a lot of discussion that I recall about the facilities. And I know, Dr. Levitt, that you sent out a message a couple weeks ago when there were some posts floating around on the internet about calling
Yes.
out Benteen specifically for being under like a 65% capacity threshold. And so I don't know if anything else has come out of that. I know there were some planning meetings that were being scheduled that they talked about at the cluster meeting, but I haven't heard anything else since then.
Gotcha. And I will share for people who may not know. So the district, they're trying to right size the district, and one of the things that they're looking at as a measuring point, not the final determining factor, is the percent of schools that have a utilization rate of under 65%. And so we are like at 60, we're like just under 65%. And that's because when they include our pre-K numbers in our enrollment, they also use those two classrooms as a core classroom, which means we have additional seats. And so part of the reason we fight so hard, or we welcome many families to come in for school choice for our traditional and our dual immersion program, and for our IB program, is because like the people choose Benteen, that keeps our enrollment numbers up while they continue to build in our community. Um, and so we are, if everyone, as I put it in the predictions for school choice, if they all show up with everybody who's currently enrolled or who's zoned for us or who is in our prediction shows up, we will exceed 65% this fall. So super excited about, the chance to be off the list of considered a small school. But that's why we do all the things we do to kind of extend the outreach. We've had tours scheduled. Ms. Stars has been on tours, conducting tours for the last 2 months. It's been almost every day, families coming in, new kindergarten families, new first grade families, new pre-K families. So the work is working. So we're looking forward to and excited about where we are. We just finished Go Team elections. Elections closed on Friday, I believe. I don't remember off the top of my head. We were at 24.7%, I think, overall. I don't want to misquote, but we were above 20% response rate for staff and for households in voting for members, one parent and one staff member for the next school year to join our Go Team. Announcements. Make sure you complete your end of year surveys. You check your email for the link. In the link, you have principal feedback survey and a Go Team satisfaction survey. And then you have to complete your required Go Team trainings ASAP. If you have any questions about those or need to find those links, you can reach out to the Go Team office or send me an email and I can connect you with them. But you should have a link from the Go Team office about the principal feedback survey, the Go Team satisfaction survey, and then if you missing any trainings, I think they send out reminders. But if you have any questions, don't know if you are on the list of needing reminders or not having reminders, email me and I will connect you with them to verify, follow up with what you need to do to get access to those two particular items for this part to close out the school year. School announcements. Next week is Teacher Appreciation Week, May 5th through the 9th. We are super excited to celebrate our phenomenal teachers. They are amazing. They've been working hard all year long. So can't wait to celebrate them and tell them how much we appreciate them for all they do. Field Day is scheduled for May 20th, 2025. As Coach Graham and her team have worked really hard to make this a great opportunity or learning experience for everyone. We also have our first overnight 5th grade field trip to Camp Jekyll Island. So we are super excited. Our teachers have been asking and pushing and working to get the money raised. And so I think this week we found out we have raised enough money to cover the cost for 5th graders to go to Camp Jekyll Island from May 21st to 22nd. We have, I think, 44 kids and 6 adults who will be attending. And we're super excited about that opportunity for our students. And then, of course, May 23rd is Maynard Jackson's graduation. And then we have Awards Day, May 27th to 29th. And we did that intentionally because this is the first time in a number of years where we've come to school after Memorial Day. And what we don't want to do is have people not come after May 23rd. We want people to come the week after Memorial Day as well. So Awards Day start with pre-K, kinder, 1st and 2nd on the 27th, the 3rd and 4th on the 28th, and then 5th grade on the 29th. And then, of course, the last day of school is May 29th. And with that, just thank you for another great year. It's always a great year at Benteen. Always a great year to have our Go Team members. Thank you, Mr. Colby, for putting in our chat for Benteen for voting. We had 25.9% of parents and 23.6% for staff. For parents, we were number 6 with the most participation for the elections for next year for parents. So good job Super excited about that progress. And again, thank you all for another amazing year. I will be in contact in the next few weeks because we need to close out the uniform task force information. And so I will make sure we touch base with that before the school year ends. But if there are no other announcements, this is our last official GO-TEAM meeting for the year, for our last scheduled GO-TEAM meeting for the year. But we will definitely follow up with our next steps around the uniform committee because we have to have that on file before the year ends for next year. Mr. Kobe, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. You said you're going to do the uniform stuff at the beginning of next year.
We're gonna try to figure out how we can close it out for this year before the year ends. I gotta make sure I go back and reread the information so we can make sure we're in compliance with the board expectations. So, I thought about it too late right now, so we'll figure out. Ms. Brazier and I will figure out because she's the person over it. We'll figure out what we can do over the next 20 days to see if we can get that set up, and we'll get the community involved and get some feedback.
Okay, just to remind you, you can find all of the resources like the toolkit and all of that in the teams, the GO-TEAM resources for principals.
Yes.
So under committees, you'll find all the school uniform information. And of course, you can always call us. We'll be happy to walk you through it.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much.
Right.
Again, thank you, everyone. It's been an amazing
Thank
year.
you.
We'll be in contact soon about the uniform committee. And we'll go from there. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy this beautiful weather.
Okay.
Right.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.